Hello, and welcome to my virtual presentation. My name is Thomas Vogel, and I'm presenting on Artificial Intelligence and Organizational Memory in Government, the experience of record duplication in the child welfare sector in Canada. Thank you for attending. In this presentation, I will be focusing on one aspect of organizational memory that has implications for the adoption of an artificial intelligence technique. In particular, I will present the issue of record duplication, how it interacts with the implementation of a new centralized enterprise case management system in a Canadian provincial child welfare sector, and the implications that it has in this context for the use of predictive analytics using machine learning. I'll also note that I have adopted a similar strategy to the BBC announcers who are currently working from home as a result of the coronavirus measures. I'm recording under a duvet so that hopefully background noise, including that provided by my infant son, will be kept to a minimum. With that out of the way, we can now move on to an overview of this presentation. This presentation has 11 parts. It will first go over some background about what child welfare is, then it will provide a summary of what this study does. It will then present the research questions that guided the work, the motivation for doing it, how the concepts of organizational memory and artificial intelligence are tied together, how I went about studying this phenomenon, what I found, what these findings mean for artificial intelligence in government, why this is relevant, the limitations and avenues for future research, and finally, how you can contact me either over email or on Discord to ask questions or provide comments. Before we jump in, let's start with a bit of background. So what is child welfare? It is the state service sector charged with protecting children from abuse and neglect. In the most critical cases, children are removed from their families and service providers find alternative placements for those children. Where thresholds for the removal of children are not met, preventative services are provided to the families who need it. For example, where the home environment is otherwise healthy, but the family is experiencing some form of material deprivation, such as a lack of food or heating, which may endanger the health of the child. Organizationally, social workers deliver the services. Agency administrators and leaders deal with operational matters. And central government provides financial and regulatory oversight. With this background, we can move into the main content of the presentation. Overall, this project explored contexts where child protection services are implementing new case management systems and predictive analytics tools for decision support. During this exploration, record duplication arose as a key challenge that frontline workers and administrators faced for a number of reasons that will be explained in this presentation. This particular challenge poses a significant risk to the implementation of predictive analytics tools in this service setting. The research questions that drove this particular study are: how does the introduction of a centralized enterprise case management system influence organizational memory in a provincial child protection system in Canada? And what are the implications for AI implementation? This project was motivated by general and more specific factors. In general, there is optimism that digital change can give us what some refer to as a perfect memory, where things we have done or said are preserved indefinitely in digital form. In addition, optimists suggest that this infrastructure of perfect digital memory can be used to enable many applications of artificial intelligence. In child protection, frontline workers need to make decisions in the context of overwhelming amounts of information, time pressure, and socially and emotionally challenging circumstances that require the balancing of child safety on the one hand and family integrity on the other. To deal with the complexity of this decision environment, child protection organizations are beginning to explore the introduction of predictive risk models using machine learning. These algorithms rely on accurate administrative data generated from digital case records, and these predictive tools are the instantiations of artificial intelligence that will be the focus here. Next, it's important to set out the conceptual framing of organizational memory. First, explaining what it means in this study, and then how it is related to other concepts discussed here. Organizational memory is understood as stored information from the past that can be brought to bear on present decisions. This definition includes both static mechanisms for storage and dynamic processes for creating memories and remembering. In an organizational setting, memories can be stored in records, but they can also be embedded in rules or procedures, as well as within particular roles. In order for memory to be usable, it has to be collected and consolidated into some long-term form. That memory needs to be retained and maintained over time. And then it needs to be searchable and retrievable when needed. While this study will look at all of the processes, it will focus on how memory is stored in records. Three other concepts come into play in this study: unique identification, record duplication, and both manual and automated decision support. With a focus on records, these three interacting concepts map onto the processes of organizational memory. Unique identification is a key element in acquiring information about the same individual over time, and ensuring that all information about their involvement with the service sector is attached to the same file. Record duplication is an issue of stored records that can emerge in cases where it is not possible to uniquely identify an individual, or where information is not input accurately, and a match with existing records cannot be confirmed. This type of record duplication can also emerge through maintenance of records, particularly in the shift from an old to a new information system, or from a decentralized to a centralized approach to information management. Finally, decision support represents the ability of either a person or a machine to search and bring all information about an individual accurately to bear on a present decision. To explore these phenomena, I adopted a phenomenological approach that involved document analysis, interview, and observation. This approach allowed me to understand the experience of workers implementing a new centralized enterprise case management system, while trying to tease out the implications that this could have on organizational memory and decision support technologies. Overall, this research is based on interviews and observation with 35 people from the sector working in functional areas ranging from frontline to back office staff. Results are presented under the three interacting conceptual categories. In general, unique identification was found to include issues around establishing a unique identifier and system avoidance. These represented reasons for existing and continued record duplication. Record duplication was found to result from existing duplicate records, the expansion of duplicates when attempts to merge records failed during agency onboarding, and the continued creation of duplicate records due to accountability incentives. Finally, decision support shows the implications of these duplicate records, both for human and machine decision-making. Relevant quotes are presented next to illustrate worker experiences of these challenges. At the point of data collection, workers encountered certain challenges. Canada does not have one national identifier, and the identifiers that do exist often differ between sectors and orders of government. This leaves workers seeking identification from whatever government-issued ID is available. But they do this in circumstances where trust is difficult to build and where some families may not have or willingly provide such information. Challenges associated with client identification can impact record duplication when information is collected and stored, making the subsequent retrieval of information difficult and potentially leading to further record duplication. While identification is one element of the record duplication problem, another is related to the storage and maintenance of records. Responsibility for information systems implementation was previously decentralized and left up to independent agencies, so individuals could be duplicated across the separate information systems if they moved between agencies. There was also sometimes inaccurate record keeping within an agency. When it came time to centralize with a new enterprise case management system, duplicate records within agencies and across agencies were suddenly going to enter the same repository. Automated merging attempts came up with different individuals that it marked as the same, so automatic merging was abandoned. Instead, agencies were expected to reduce duplicates on their own. This often required more nuanced contextual information because of the nature of the data and how it could be incomplete in places. This proliferation of duplicate records and difficulties in merging them led to a negative feedback loop, where workers would find multiple records and instead of trying to decipher which one was the right one, would create a new record because of concerns about being held responsible for making a mistake, thus exacerbating the duplicate record issue. But what were the results of these duplicate records on decision support? Workers experienced real challenges with search and retrieval. In some cases, they would have tacit knowledge about records that should exist for their case because of the memory they hold through their social work with that family. But because of duplicate records, with differences in identifying information, they are unable to find these records. Sometimes this would be due to the same person having multiple system-generated identification numbers, as they had been created multiple times in the system. Other workers spoke to the administrative burden of trying to correct inaccuracies in records. But the overall sentiment among workers was fear that they would miss something important because it was buried amongst the duplicate records. They were concerned about this because the inability to effectively search and retrieve relevant information was seen as a major contributing factor to a number of high-profile child deaths. Due to the fact that real data from the child protection sector is highly sensitive, I cannot present real-world examples of the duplicate record issue that workers were seeing when they were conducting their searches. However, I can provide an illustration of some of the issues that emerged by using some made-up data, which you can see here. Can you determine which of these are duplicate records based on the information provided? If you have a hard time verifying whether there is any connection, you can begin to imagine the experience of workers. But let's go through some possibilities. The first two rows have names, dates of birth, and addresses that are different. But maybe the person inverted their first and middle names during the interview. Maybe the worker accidentally inverted the last two digits of the birth year and house number when doing data entry. The first and third lines look very similar, except for the address, and perhaps they would be automatically merged. But maybe they are different, and this would add an allegation of domestic violence to the record of an otherwise good foster care provider. Finally, the first and the fourth lines are completely different, but maybe the family has moved. This unidentified adult is the same person, and there are behaviors associated with this incomplete record that would be relevant for a worker's clinical decision-making. Here, we can see how the absence of a unique identifier can impede the accuracy of collection, and how a number of possible duplicate records can have important implications for a worker's ability to search and retrieve relevant information. So what does this mean for artificial intelligence? While artificial intelligence approaches have been explored, and there is optimism about their potential, the general consensus is that data quality in this sector is too poor to enable these approaches because some relevant information may not be retrieved or some incorrect information may be erroneously included during search and retrieval. Further, frontline workers are suspicious of the capacity for a machine to make a decision that has implications for people's lives. Those concerns around data quality are not new, but the details of this particular problem of duplicate records are interesting and pose a particular challenge for the adoption of predictive analytics in child protection, and these details are summarized in what follows. The main implications can be broken down to a problem of false positives, or misremembering, false negatives, or forgetting, and a combination of both. In the figure, the rectangle represents the set of all true facts about the individual. The circle represents those facts that are attributed to the individual in their service record. And the star represents a piece of information that could impact an algorithmic decision or prediction one way or the other. So going back to the illustrative example a few slides back, in the context of false positives, say two records, which are erroneously thought to be duplicated, are merged. A foster provider may have an allegation of domestic abuse or domestic violence erroneously attributed to their record. Under the analysis of a predictive model, this could render them ineligible to provide service. The example of a false negative would be the duplicate record with incomplete data not being merged to the main file, such that a worker or machine may not realize that there was aggressive behavior in addition to the domestic violence allegation. Finally, when combined, the individual with a domestic violence allegation may have the foster provider status misattributed and the aggressive behavior forgotten. These factors of misremembering and forgetting in the context of duplicate records could have important implications for the accuracy and reliability of predictions. The relevance of this research is to refocus the current optimism about artificial intelligence to more foundational issues related to organizational memory that need to be addressed before applications of artificial intelligence can be effectively introduced. Any solution to these foundational issues will be a socio-technical one that involves not only the introduction of technology, but social and material infrastructure related to identity, worker training, human-in-the-loop record merging, and related organizational process restructuring. Only with the appropriate socio-technical foundation will artificial intelligence approaches be possible in sectors like this. These results offer practical insights into how to overcome some of the challenges to the adoption of artificial intelligence in government when faced with record duplication. The key limitations of this research are that it only explores the experience in one jurisdiction and in one sector. The study also only looks at the impact of one type of data quality issue on predictive analytics. Further research could help to close these gaps by exploring other jurisdictions and sectors, and other kinds of data quality issues, to reveal their unique and specific implications for the adoption of artificial intelligence tools. You can pause here to review references cited in this presentation. Thank you for watching or listening to this presentation. For more details, you can read through the proceedings paper. If you have any questions or comments, please get in touch over email at thomas.vogel@oii.ox.ac.uk or find me on Discord at Thomas Vogel, tag number 8849. Have a great day.